today we're going to be covering law firm website best practices, must-have features, and then we're also going to talk about how an effective website translates to effective advertising campaigns. My name's Bo Royal. I'm CEO of Pareto Legal. We are a marketing agency that specializes in digital advertising, strategy, and conversion rate optimization for law firms. My background is in Fortune 500 marketing and advertising. Before I founded my agency, I was CMO for a large injury law firm, and I now sit as an advisory board member at a large firm in Philadelphia that's doing 8 figures in revenue per year. Ashley, you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, super excited to be here and meet everyone. My name is Ashley Robinson, CEO, founder of Green Cardigan Marketing. Our firm also works exclusively in legal, providing digital marketing services. We specialize in building websites for law firms, and then we also help law firms on a monthly basis grow and scale through strategy as well. My background, I was in automotive marketing for years. Started working with a criminal defense lawyer on the side and took it full time and been doing it full time for a handful of years now. So super pumped to see what you guys have. And Bo and I are excited to help facilitate and answer questions about how you can grow your firm. This is things that Bo and I do every day. So excited to hear the questions you guys have and hopefully provide some value.
Awesome. So let's start with the top 4 features your website needs. Take it away, Ashley.
Yeah, so every website, every law firm website, we've got a few big generalizing statements we can make, right? That's not often the case in many things in life, but there are a few generalizing statements, and then we can get more specific and granular based on your practice area. So number one, this is a bread and butter component here at our company. It's very important of providing the SEO optimization on the website. It's SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's how Google works, right? It's Google's very sophisticated algorithm. So we can build this big, beautiful website, but if we don't put SEO and if there's not keyword rankings and backlinking and content optimization, no one's going to be able to find the site. So you see there, what is SEO? It's just the process. It's the way you get folks to your site by ranking high. And you're doing that by meeting the Google Gods algorithm that they have chosen. It matters because how else are you going to be found? It's just too much of a saturated market nowadays. I know, Bo, you and I see this every day. It's too saturated to not. You've got to do something to stand out, and ensuring that your website ranks at the top. It's a very important factor. I think, Bo, if you go to the next slide, we've got some more details about and examples about SEO. So this is, excuse my childlike image here, but I do think it paints a really good picture. So just a moment ago, I mentioned it's how we get found, right? So we build these big, beautiful websites for our clients. Anything you can imagine, we can pretty much build it without putting SEO on your website and optimizing the website. You've built this big, beautiful house in the woods that no one can see. Now, if you're from Alabama, where I'm from, a lot of people enjoy that. But as a business owner, we don't want to be secluded out in the woods and alone. So alternatively, if you optimize the website and put content on the website, you can find the website. If you go to the next slide, Bo, there's a picture. So it shows the difference here. We've built a big, beautiful website. Well, now we need to pave a driveway. We need to put a mailbox. We need to clear some trees. So you see the difference if you're thinking of it in that analogy of we've got to get folks to the site for people to see the site. So next slide, Bo. So a few other ideas or thoughts around SEO. Number one, it really determines the level of SEO, the type of content, backlinks, keywords, referral partners. Really depends on your practice area. We're trying to think of that client avatar and who's coming to your site. And that's going to determine, that should be the baseline decision for everything. You can audit your site to determine how it ranks. You can do that through companies like Bo and I. There are also free tools out there. I'm not a fan of the free tools as a lawyer, right? Practice law, let someone else use your billable hourly rate to practice law and make money, and let someone else help you decipher the language that these tools are going to show you. Marathon, not a sprint, meaning SEO is just one of the tools in our tool belt. It's a slower crawl. It takes a longer time to rank, but that's the beauty of it. That's why we like it. Is it does take a while to get traffic, and that's okay. That's what we want, because once you start sustaining some traffic and you can get some traffic, then you're going to be there for a while, and you can stay at the top of the rankings as long as you're continuously optimizing your site. And then you can see I put there of, even if you're not trying to scale, this is a common conversation I'm having with lawyers is, hey, I'm not trying to be a $10 million firm. I'd just like to go, maybe I'd like to grow 20%, but I'm also looking for fewer leads, but more qualified leads. This is what we're talking about. SEO is not just meant to blow the walls down and bring in 150 unqualified people who are just kicking the tires to bombard your team. That's not what it's meant for, and that's not the intent for it.
I have a quick question, Ashley.
Yeah.
In addition to practice area determining how much SEO work your site needs, wouldn't the firm's goals also be a factor too, as well as the market that they're in and the competitive landscape? I feel like those are some big contributing factors as well.
Those all matter, Bo, and that's a great question. So when you come into our team before we start building a website, there's a pretty long checklist that we will ask you in the intake of average client value, current volume, overall volume, but then also let's decipher that between qualified volume. And when I say volume, I'm speaking with leads, right? Let's also look at your geo, and then we want to run an audit on your current site if you have one, but then also an audit on your geo and your demographic geographically to see who else is ranking in that area, to see how much keyword opportunity may be available. All of this information we can find out. But yeah, before we begin just doing something, and I see a lot of companies doing that, it's just kind of random acts of marketing. Let's decide what strategy and how we should approach this, because it's going to be different for everyone based on your practice area, your goals. Your strategy is going to be different as a divorce lawyer in Atlanta versus another divorce lawyer in Atlanta, just based on your strategy. You're trying to target high net worth divorce. You're targeting same sex divorce and adoption. It's going to be drastically different based on you and your client avatar. Great question, though, Bo.
Yeah, because I know for some of our clients, they have they're multi-location practices, right? They have multiple offices. They have a primary office, and then they have satellite offices. And typically the primary office or offices are in more like urban areas, high population, and then satellite offices are in more suburban and rural areas. And I know with those firms, from an SEO perspective, they can typically do a lot less in those rural areas to start ranking very quickly because there's less competition. There's just not as many competing firms with really big, built out websites versus, the more urban areas where there's like 50 competitors, all vying for the same traffic. Right. So that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And in those more secluded areas, what we do for that example, Bo, for that client is build geographic pages based on that target in that city, right? So if you're in Atlanta, again, we have a family lawyer in Atlanta. We're going to target the main keyword of Atlanta, but we're also going to build additional geo-focused pages focusing on, if anyone's from that part of the world, focusing on Marietta, Douglasville, Savannah, or it depends on the reach, right? So that's a strategy. That's part of our strategy, is writing geo-focused keywords in landing pages.
Awesome.
So, all right, second most important factor when it comes to your website, and this is big for this to be number two, is a mobile first design. So on your cell phone, how does your website look? That's it seems like a no-brainer. Obviously, from a user and a client perspective, that's very important. I look through many things, though, through the eyes of Google first, human being second. If we can appease Google, that's the only way it can be shown to humans. So you do have to look at it that way. So this has been a shift that Google has focused on for many years now, but within the last year or so, it's been, hey, there is no other ranking factor that matters in terms of platform, mobile first. So we care about a mobile design website first. So go to your website, look at it on your phone, click on every button. We call that a call to action. Does it work? When you click on the menu, does it drop down? Are the words running off of the screen? If that's the case, Google notices that, and you are being penalized for that. So why does it matter if you're being penalized? Well, your website's not going to show higher on the rankings than your competitors because of how you are being penalized from Google for a lack of a mobile first design website. So it's a really easy thing for you to do as the user or the owner of the firm or the CMO. It's just to check out your website on a mobile first or on a mobile device. If it doesn't look great, you need to do something about it. There are small changes that can be made, possibly. It might be a larger issue. But consider that when looking at your your website. And also consider it, that was through the eyes of Google, right? But let's talk about it through the eyes of your customer. Your customers are not looking at it on their desktop. We know that north of 80% of your traffic is going to come from a mobile device. It's easy for us working on your site, Bo and I sitting behind our desk, but we have to remember that your clients are looking at it from a mobile device. Again, going back to practice area, we do see family, PI, criminal have a higher mobile view than our business lawyers, our IP lawyers, because that's more B2B, right? So your customers are looking at you through my employment lawyer. I'm looking at his website, who I use to write my employees' contracts. I'm doing that on my desktop. Now, if I'm in an accident, my car injury lawyer, I'm going to be looking at it from my mobile device. So lots of factors to think about there, but those are two good examples of most of your traffic is going to be coming from mobile from 80% of our practice areas, and the other 20% is probably a good mix of desktop and mobile. Bo, do you see any discrepancy on mobile versus desktop in terms of paid traffic?
Of course, yeah. I mean, to your point, most of the search volume that's happening is happening on mobile devices, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's really, you know, it's not a question of paid or organic, right? Everyone that is doing the searches for car accident attorney, estate planning attorney, family law attorney, most of that activity, to your point, is happening on mobile devices.
Right.
So your site needs to be oriented in such a way that, the user experience, the functionality is, to your point, mobile first. So
Yeah.
yeah, most of the paid traffic we drive for our clients is coming in through mobile devices.
Mobile. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about number 3. So number 3 says strong and unique language. So what do I mean by this? I mentioned just a moment ago, nothing new to you all on this call, but this is an oversaturated market. It is our job, my job, Bo's job, to make our clients stand out. There are many ways you can stand out amongst your competitors. You got to be doing certain things based on the practice area if you're really trying to grow. But let's talk about something so simple as the language being used on your site. So we call this direct response style marketing or direct response style copywriting, meaning you focus on your client first. Why would you have a website that says, "My name is Ashley, I'm the best lawyer, I'm great, I'm the best in the area"? Nobody gives a shit. Not anymore. There's too many competitors out there. If you want to be different, talk about your clients first. Use words that end in, or use sentences that end in a question mark. I think actually, Bo, on the next slide, we have some examples. So I'll show you guys what I'm referring to here. So these are just two websites that we've worked on, and this is another site that I found. Let's look at the difference here of, you see the top one there, that's an estate planning firm. So what would happen to your family and assets if you didn't make it home tomorrow? That resonates with me so much more than um, estate planning firm Ventura for 17 years. Again, who cares? If I land on this website and I'm in the middle of a probate situation, or I've just had someone pass away, or I've just had my first child and it's a heavy burden that I need to make sure I'm prepared, this speaks to me as an estate planning firm more than Hermance Law, 17 years, Ventura, California. Or look at the bottom one. This is a family lawyer in Wisconsin. She started working with us, and before we began any monthly services, we said, "Hey, let's just go through your website. Pretty affordable option for our client, and it makes a huge difference. Let's just change all the call to action statements. Instead of saying family lawyer, Wisconsin, looking for compassionate legal support in your divorce." And then you can start reading, and you'll see, and on Lindsay's website, when you scroll, that's the lady on the bottom, when you scroll below the fold on her website, you're now hit with a video of Lindsay talking about why she's a divorce lawyer. And it's so impactful, Bo. Like the first time I ever met Lindsay, she was telling me the story, and I was like, Lindsay, we have to capture this on video, because that is what's going to make you stand out. Is you do this because you are a product of divorce. You do this because you are now in a blended family with your husband and your children. You are passionate about helping people. So look at the difference on the left and the right. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. I'm not meeting with every one of my clients, and I know Bo is not either. But we are the faces for our company. You should be the face for your law firm, because everything is based on my vision and goals and everything in our customer service, right? Same for you, Bo, and your partner. So we've got to let people inside our hearts and our minds. It's too much competition to have a boring website that just says, click here, call me now. Why? Why should I call you? So it's something we're really passionate about here, is going through our clients' websites. Small adjustments make a really big difference. We see this, Bo, on the marketing side. We see our conversions increase pretty drastically after changing the language and letting it set in for 3 months or so, and giving Google enough time to crawl the site, rank the site, and start sending users to it. We do see our conversions increase when we change this type of language.
Yep. And I just want to add, this is something that you should be constantly testing and iterating on. Um, there's this misconception that marketing is a lot of this like figuring out and then you launch. It's actually the reverse. You launch and then you figure it out and you iterate, iterate, iterate. And, the homepage specifically, like you have these different screenshots of the homepage heroes here. That is probably the most important piece of content on the entire website, right?
Yep.
So if you're going to be prioritizing some website optimization work in 2025, what better place to start with your homepage, and specifically that above the fold section?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, whatever your practice areas are, your demographic, let's lean into that. You tell us that. Tell people like Bo and I, we're in this world every day, and we can help you craft a message that's going to make you different and unique and stand out.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the fourth one. So, frictionless contact methods. Prioritize it based on your clients, your sales funnel. If you're a personal injury firm, your call to action should be call, 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 call. Like, we've got to get them on the phone right now. Form fills might be better, again, based on, when I say sales funnel, I'll give like the 30 seconds of what that means. So your sales funnel, folks come into your sales funnel, and the further down they get, the warmer that leads gets before they convert or make some sort of action on purchasing or reaching out to your firm, right? So our job in marketing is to bring people to the sales funnel, nurture them down the sales funnel. Your job is to be a good lawyer and convert them and do a good job on their case, right? That is how this process works. So you need to prioritize this based on who that client is, and then also where are they entering the sales funnel. Not everyone enters from the top. Paid ads often can shoot people further down. If someone downloads a form, a contact form, or they attend a webinar, or whatever it may be, it might put them further down the funnel. So depending upon who your client is and what the marketing channel is, let's think about that contact method and where we want to spit them into the funnel and at what level. Bo, does that make sense? I want to make sure that makes sense for everybody who's listening, and if anybody has questions on that. But we just want to prioritize it. So live chat features, I've never seen, I shouldn't say never, but I see often that it's not great leads. They do not produce great leads. We're not a huge fan of them here. I have seen people use them successfully, especially if you can incorporate video. And again, based on the type of client. But someone like an estate planning firm, I've never seen that be a wildly successful option. Interested if anybody here has a success rate with a live chat, would love to hear that. But consider, the point here is consider the type of contact method we want our clients to take based on who they're at, where they're at, our sales funnel.
Yeah, I would agree that call is probably the most important. And going back to what we were talking about before about mobile first, you need to make sure that you have click to call functionality on your website, meaning when someone is scrolling on a mobile device through your website, they have the ability to just click one button that automatically connects them to your firm, right? That button can be like a static button, like embedded on certain content, pages of your website, or I like sites that have the click to call functionality embedded in a top nav that follows users as they scroll up and down the page. So
Yeah.
like just make it easy for them to call you, right? Like don't have that button hidden anywhere. Make it someplace easy. Make sure that the color, is a stark contrast relative to other content on the page, right? Um, I think that's really important. I honestly I've seen a lot of firms do live chat well. It's contingent on the types of questions that they are asking in the live chat. I know that Engage and some of these human agent, live agent live chats are fairly popular. I am not a fan of them. I think they are overpriced, and I think that the user experience is subpar because you're essentially just paying someone to have a drawn out conversation that isn't structured with a prospective client. And then once that gets sent over to your intake team, they're kind of scratching their heads like, well, they didn't follow our questions, right? I'm a proponent of AI powered live chats. We're partners with Intaker, which is a really popular AI powered live chat tool. And the reason I like that is because you can you have full control over the questions that are being asked, and you can bake in kind of these decision trees where it's like if they answer this question a certain way, then ask them this follow-up question. So that way, when the lead is sent, once it's completed, once they hit submit on the form, your intake team gets a really detailed account of, all right, this is, when the injury occurred. This is, do they have doctor's verification? Yes. This is the state they were in, so on and so forth. So I think live chat can work well. It's just a question of what questions are you asking? How is it? How is that user experience figured out? Right? What does that workflow or decision tree rather look like? And then same thing with forms. But I'd say like our average client, 70 to 80% of their volume is coming in through phone calls. So
Right.
that's the one that matters the most.
Sure. Same here. Same here. Is I just you can't have your team fumble the ball like with the and that can happen so easily with the chat. Let's go to Bo. Let's talk about some common practice area pages or maybe just overall what pages are best for a law firm website. So to understand the different types of pages and this is such a common question we are asked, and then again when we're building websites for our clients of what should the main navigation or the practice area pages be on our website? So let's identify who that client avatar is. Who is your client? Because we want to speak like they do, right? Like, again, let's not think about ourselves when we're building our website. Let's think about our clients. And let's ensure that we're speaking their language. So, who are they? How do they speak? What are they looking for? If your name is on the door, they're going to want to see you. Like it or not, they're going to want to see you. So, have your page ready and available. Give information about your team, yourself. Show off your team. If you have a team, show them off. Give information about them. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. Give that information and be human. Quit being robotic. Too much competition. You're going to hear me say that often. Too much competition. Be real human beings. And then also, we talked about this earlier of identify your geographic areas. If that's something relevant to your firm, it's going to be for many of you of letting your customers know and letting your clients know where you practice, because again, that impacts them. They can see themselves when you're asking those questions, and then you're telling them that you practice in their geographic area. You don't have to be city specific. You can even mention county. So add those geographic pages, and it's going to help your customers see themselves working with you. So on the next two slides, I've got some examples for you all of, I don't know what type of, I'm looking in the chat here. I don't know what type of practice areas we have today. So I put in a few different examples. So the bottom one is that same estate planning firm. The top one is our website, just to give you an example. And then the next slide, I have a criminal defense firm. So let me kind of walk you through some of the different options here. So if you are coming to our website, you are a lawyer, you are a CMO, CEO, you are some sort of managing decision maker, often if you're coming to our site. So you want to know who we are, what do we do, results, So we have an IP firm. So that's great. Thank you for putting that in there, Byron. So you want to see what we have done for you, for IP firms. You want to see how we have made a difference. You also want to see what is our process. This is the second most visited page on our website. We've got some free resources and then set up a call. So you can see how that's applicable to who my clients are versus if we look at this estate planning firm. Pretty common stuff here on the estate planning firm. She's got her services. We've got her team. She's got a big team, so we want to show off her team resources. What I wanted to point out on this one as an estate planning firm is we created the collaborate tab. We have any estate planning firms in the chat here? So I see employment lawyer, IP. So while you guys are answering this, also IP, Sasha, cool. An estate planning firm, a large majority of your practice is referral based, right? So what we've done for many of our estate planning firms is we've created this collaborate tab, and we would have estate planning firm Jenny. Cool. So under the collaborate tab, we've got real estate professionals, finance professionals. So this firm does a lot of marketing to their referral base. Why not? These referrals bring in a ton of money for these estate planning firms. So we've created landing pages specifically for these people. Again, when you go to the finance page or the real estate professional page, it speaks directly to them and how Hermance Law Group can help you, and you can help me, and I can help you. And it speaks their language. We do nurture campaigns, traffic, sending traffic back to these pages. So that's an example there, right, of the different practice areas. And then if you go to the next slide, you can see versus a criminal defense firm. Lots of white collar business that we send Manny Aurora. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. So very different, right? Manny's all over the news, high profile cases. So people often have heard about Manny through the news, and so they land on this media page. Under media page, we've got any and every time that he's mentioned publicly. He's also in Atlanta. He has a large Hispanic base. And then you want to hear testimonials from Manny because, again, if you're coming to Manny, you are often a high profile or you're facing a life-altering decision. So my life is in your hands. So you need to do everything you can to speak to this person and let them know that you are the most capable lawyer to handle this situation. So if there's any questions, you guys definitely put them in the chat. But you can see how, Bo, what would you say are some common pages you see, like the testimonial page? You're going to see that on most every firm's site we work with. What are some examples that you see?
Yeah, for the firms we work with, I already mentioned the homepage. That's a no-brainer. That's going to be the most high traffic page on the site, so that's really important. The other one is the meet the team /attorneys page.
Yeah.
Like in the average client really wants to know two things. Like once they get past, the how the site makes them feel and the content makes them feel, then they're going to, start using their logical part of their brain and be like, all right, number one, is this firm competent? And then number two, where are they? Right. So the way that they can gauge competency is they're going to look at your attorney page. They're going to read about your background. They're going to look at your testimonials, any other social proof you have, Google reviews, right? So make sure that your attorney page or pages are really buttoned up. If you can incorporate video into those pages too, having a short 30-second, 1-minute video, giving a brief overview of who your attorneys are, like on an individual basis, like I'm so-and-so attorney, I'm so-and-so attorney,
Yep.
and then walking through background, what motivates them, so on and so forth. That type of content is really, really impactful. And same thing with the testimonial content as well. Video works extremely well in conveying, the customer, the client experience, the attorney's competency, that how they prioritize communication, how they help them through, the different challenges throughout the case, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think aside from homepage, the attorney pages are really, really important. And then obviously practice area pages as well, so that people know, all right, these are the specific areas of law that the firm focuses on. Obviously, we can't say things like specialize or expert, right? Because there's There's rules against that. But yeah, I would say that those are going to be the most important pages for sure.
Sure. And one last point here about video. I'm so glad you mentioned that. On the example like the Hermance law firm before, or even Manny Aurora, we now make a video. It is a non-negotiable for us. If you're working with us on a monthly basis, you have to do video with us. Google owns YouTube. It's a monopoly for a reason, folks.
For
We have
now,
got to,
they might
for
break
now,
it up.
sure, we've got to scratch the back of both players any chance we can. But then also, let's not look at it through the lens of the search engine, but let's look at it through the lens of our customers, and they want to hear from you. So, for the IP firms, there's something that we do for our clients of each month sit with us for 20 minutes, and out of that 20 minutes, we'll get a 2-minute video. Tell me about copyright protection. What is it? Tell me about copyright registration. How do I do it? Copyright clearance. Tell me licensing. Tell me break it down for me in a way that I can understand. We'll also build out those practice area pages, but let's incorporate video. Again, from Google, it's not going to do anything but benefit us. But from the user's perspective, it's going to captivate that audience. It's going to nurture that lead. Remember, we talked about the sales funnel. It's going to help nurture that lead because you are demonstrating trust. You are demonstrating authority and how great you are at your job. You're a kick-ass lawyer. We know that. It's our job to show that to our clients. So having those pages and then also incorporating video any chance you can on those pages is going to be, that could be the one differentiator that is going to help you propel over your competitors in your market.
Yep, agreed. If I can just add a couple of things there. Number one, I completely agree with everything you just said, Ashley. For those of you that are, have been hesitant to do video because of like costs or effort, it's really, like Ashley just said, not that costly at all to be able to produce this content. Um, you can hire an editor offshore to cut the videos up however you want them to be. You need a cell phone or you need your webcam and a good mic, and that's it. You don't need to drop 50 grand on having this production team come out and have these really high res video shot with these sweeping drone shots and amazing soundtrack. That's You don't need that, right? Like I would say content wise, video content wise, we already talked about attorney videos. If you can get some testimonial videos from clients. um Another thing I've seen work well too is go look at Google Analytics and see where you're getting most of your organic traffic from currently. And if you don't have video content on some of those high traffic pages, prioritize those pages first because you want to do video that ultimately a lot of people are going to see, right? So, what better place to add video content on your website to pages where they're already getting a lot of traffic, right?
Yeah.
So, I know this isn't a video marketing webinar, but I think video, if it's not already part of your website strategy for 2025, it should be.
Yeah, Tim, I see your question or I see your comment of what if you're not a good speaker? Ultimately, what if you're not a good speaker? Um, I can only speak for us, but I know there are many other companies who do it similarly. So for our clients, we get on something like this, Zoom, and we make it as painless as possible. And most marketing companies are going to be able to make it as painless as possible. We write the scripts for our clients. And so what we do is it's very much a conversation and we press record and then we can condense that down. So if we can get you talking and just more free flowing and using your own intellectual capability and your emotional intelligence and then your skill set as well, you would be shocked at how at the delivery that these videos are and how convincing and emotion based they can be, even if you're not a great speaker, Tim. So I would encourage you to speak with someone who might could help you do it, but just think outside the box too. If you're having a conversation, it's so much better than just turning on the camera saying, "My name is Ashley. I'm an IP firm." That's hard. That's hard for anyone. So think of it more of a conversation. That's the great thing nowadays about marketing is it's not meant to be stiff. It can't be stiff. It's got to be really unique and just conversational. So don't let that stop you, Tim.
Yeah, and don't sell yourself short. I mean, you must be a good enough speaker if you're communicating with clients regularly, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of this content is just recording the common answers that you're giving them to their common questions, right? So, um, these concepts like the back of your hand. It's literally just, you know, if you were to do it like Ashley's team does it, you'd hop on a Zoom call with her. She'd ask you 5 softball questions, you'd answer them, and then, hand that over to an editor, cut it up into 15, 30, 60 second, videos. And that's really all you need to start. You don't
Yeah.
need to have it be this big production.
Yeah, it's pretty painless. We do a one-time shoot for our clients. In that one-time shoot, we're gonna guarantee between 20 and 30 social media teaser videos, 1 minute or less, just sound bites. So we tell our clients of, "We shouldn't see you here doing this again for another 6 months or a year. Unless the content you are speaking about changes or your physical appearance changes enough, we should be good. We shouldn't have to do this maybe once a year."
Agreed.
Alright, Bo, I think let's move on to what you gotta say.
Yeah, for sure. And quick time check, it's 1:40. So I'm going to try to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. And then we want to allow about 10 to 15 minutes for additional questions. So we talked a lot about, what things need to exist and be optimized on the website. I now want to tie this to what that means from an advertising perspective. So, obviously, if you put a lot of time, energy, effort into making your site load faster, if you make the site better on mobile devices and you optimize the call to actions, you make the navigation more intuitive, you add, those reviews and testimonials that we were talking about and pepper those in on the key pages of the website. You're investing in content. And then you also make sure that you have the right contact methods in place. All of that is going to equate to a lower bounce rate on your website, which bounce rate is the ratio of people that immediately leave your site divided by the total amount of visitors to your website, right? So if you get 100 visits to your website, but 90 people automatically leave, they don't view an additional page, they only view one page, that means you have a 90% bounce rate. It's really not a good bounce rate, right? The other thing is you do all these things, you make all these optimizations, it's going to mean that a greater proportion of people are going to convert into leads, right? And so that's why I include here conversion rates. So in short, you're going to have low bounce rates, you're going to have higher conversion rates. And what does that ultimately equate to? It's going to mean that your cost per lead from a digital advertising campaign is going to be a lot lower, as well as your cost per case, right? So I think people have this misconception that, well, my site's good enough, right? It looks good. It loads quick enough, right? And I don't need to make any more changes. I don't need to make any more optimizations. And I would argue the optimization work never stops. It really shouldn't. You should constantly be iterating. You should constantly be trying to make your site load faster. You need to make the content more engaging. And it's not this amorphous pie in the sky activity that doesn't translate to your bottom line. In fact, it's quite the opposite. If you make your site more efficient, if you make your content more engaging, if you make it easier for people to contact you, it is going to hit your bottom line in a positive way. You're going to be able to get more bang for your buck from your advertising campaigns. So don't sleep on these benefits. Also, similar to like I just said, from a cost perspective, I think about half the people on the webinar today are advertising on Google. The other half aren't, but this is still important information. If you're advertising your firm on Google, Google actually gives you an incentive to make your site higher quality, better content. And they do that in the form of what's called a quality score. It's this metric unique to just Google Ads. And basically, what quality score is, it's a grade of how relevant your content is relative to the keywords that you're targeting. It also is a barometer on how high quality your website is, right? Like the landing page experience. So all that is to say is if you make your landing pages and website more relevant, higher quality, Google's going to allow you to generate traffic at a lower cost per click. So, you know, again, going back to what I just said about it hitting your bottom line, if you're spending $20,000 a month on Google Ads, and there might be a few advertisers or firms on here that are doing that, and you make your site more relevant, efficient, for all you know, Google could be giving you a 30-40% higher quality score, and that could equate to a lower overall cost for advertising, right? So again, that is another reason why you should be taking website optimization seriously from an advertising perspective, because it can equate to some pretty serious cost savings.
Bo, let me ask you a question. When you guys are working with your firms and you see a low quality score and you take it doing your magic and doing what you all do, using your experience and getting that quality score higher, I know that as a business owner, and the business owners on this call would want to ask, how quick do you see an increase in not just traffic but conversions, just an overall benefit? How quick does that change happen?
It's pretty instantaneous.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it only takes Google maybe a day or two to figure out what this updated quality score is. Um, but then the conversion rate benefits are immediate too, right? So, it's kind of this double whammy effect where if you make, and this is common sense, if you make your landing pages more relevant to the keywords you're targeting, Google's going to give you a better quality score. So you're going to have a lower cost per click on that traffic. But then the people that do hit that landing page, if it's more relevant content, they're going to convert at a higher rate too. So you're going to see a decline in the cost per click and an increase in the conversion rate, which again, going back to this slide, equates to a lower cost per lead, a lower cost per case. You're going to see a lot more efficiency from your advertising campaigns if you do this. And like I said, you can expect that pretty much instantaneously. So moving on to audience reach, this is kind of not a common benefit to advertising that a lot of people talk about when it comes to building out your websites further. But if you do invest in more content on your website, you invest in SEO and building out like a more robust blog section of your website to further educate your prospective clients, that's going to allow you to target a wider audience with your advertising campaigns, right? So I'll give an example of this. Let's say you're a car accident lawyer. Um, there's going to be a lot of people, potential audience that you can target if you add more informational type content pieces to your website, right? So, I think the common keywords everyone is always worried about are like law firm, attorney, lawyer keywords, right? Because those are the highest intent. And because they're so high intent, they're very expensive, very competitive. Well, if you go a little bit further up the funnel and, again, using a car accident lawyer, for example, you know, someone might not even be aware that they need an attorney yet. And they might have just gotten in a car accident and maybe they're typing in something like what to do after a car accident, right? Like that's a very common search that people are doing after they, get an offender bender or something like that. If you have content on your site that answers that question, that's an opportunity for your practice to have some initial touch point with that person that just got in a car accident basically for free, right? If you're ranking at the first or second position for that keyword, that's a great entry point to warm your firm up to that prospective client, right? So, with more content types, blogs, guides, case studies, you can really lead users to more specific and relevant landing pages that start that nurturing process. And this kind of leads to my last slide here, which is if you invest in these blog pages and these more informational content pieces that educate your prospective clients, all that will do for your advertising campaigns is give them more fuel from a retargeting perspective, right? And this retargeting, if you're not doing retargeting currently as a firm, I can't recommend it enough. Retargeting is when you are serving ads to people that have had some prior touch point with your website, right? They've either reviewed a blog or they looked at your attorney page or they visited your homepage. You dropped a cookie on their browser and then you are serving them ads a day, a week, a month later. You can target people up to a year later on Google specifically. or actually, I believe 540 days later now. But really, a retargeting campaign is an opportunity to re-engage with someone that, again, has had some prior interaction with your website. And you can deduce that if they visited your website before, odds are that they are in the market, or rather were in the market for legal help previously, right? So all that is to say is, if you're building out more of this content, if you're generating traffic organically from these different pages, that can really help fuel your retargeting efforts, your advertising efforts. And then the last thing is tracking and data. So um, if your website is properly optimized, it will allow seamless integration with your analytics platforms. The most common one is Google Analytics. So one big piece of advice for anyone here: if you don't have Google Analytics set up for your website, do that immediately. It is a gold mine of information. Going back to what we said about, marketing is an iterative practice. It's a test and learn type of dynamic. Google Analytics is going to be the tool that you use to make those optimizations. You'll be able to see which pages of your website are getting the most traffic, which ones have the highest bounce rates, so on and so forth. And by having that data driven approach, you can be much more focused with your optimization efforts. It won't be as much of an exercise as, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. You can really hone in your marketing efforts if you know which pages of your website are getting the most activity. So um, you need to make sure that you have reduced data errors on your website. So optimize websites with clean code, and well-structured pages. They won't have as much tracking issues. You'll be able to get more data back to your ad campaigns if all of that is set up properly. You also need to make sure that you're tracking all of the key events on your website. So we already mentioned the big three: phone calls, form submits, live chats. All of that needs to be tracked, so that you can run effective marketing and advertising campaigns. And then the last thing I'll say, that's really, really important, is that your website needs to support A/B testing. You need to have a way that you can test different landing pages. This is really easy with paid traffic campaigns. We do it all the time, where we'll split 50% of the traffic to one page and then 50% to another page variant. And then we can run that split test and see, oh, this page is converting at a 20% higher rate relative to this other page. And once we know that, we're like, okay, well, this is going to be the main page that we use moving forward, right? But then the work doesn't stop there. Then we launch another test like a month later, and we're constantly trying to level up, the key landing pages, and keep throttling that conversion rate up, right? So these are the benefits of, website optimization and how it translates to that advertising success. And I know I went a little bit over on time. I apologize for that. Um, Real quick before we get to the Q&A, Ashley put this best practices test together. We're not going to go through this because we have limited time today, but we will be sending this deck out following the webinar to everyone that joined today. Um, Ashley has this great website test that you can go through. I think it's what, Ashley, like 27 questions total or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep. Total, it
Go
should take you
through
about
this
5 minutes.
test, see how you score. It's a binary, like yes, no type of scoring. And basically you'll see where you rank. And Ashley has some recommendations here based on your score, what things you need to do, what next steps are, so on and so forth. But yeah, definitely circle back to this if you feel like your site is in need of some help. Go through this test, see how you rank, and then if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to either myself or Ashley. So this is the Q&A portion of the call. We probably have about 3-4 minutes to get through this. Ashley, you've been, I think, responding to some messages in
Yeah.
here. Are there any questions so far?
No, I don't see any questions so far. Actually, I take that back. Jenny, I'm just now seeing your question. What is the name of the software used for A/B testing capabilities that you were just referring to, Bo?
We honestly are just doing the A/B testing directly within Google Ads, so we can literally just create a separate page. It could be almost an exact copy of the control page that we're testing, and we might just modify like a headline, or we might change out the image, or we might move the form further down or further up, right? So it's not really a software per se. Um, that said, there are tools that you can use to do landing page testing within like paid traffic campaigns. I know Unbounce is probably the most popular one, and it does integrate directly with WordPress. So if you do have a WordPress site, I feel like WordPress sites are probably the most common today for law firms. You can download the Unbounce app, connect it to your WordPress site, and you can do a lot more of that A/B testing relatively easily.
And also Jenny too, like Bo and I are just talking about paid traffic.
Yeah.
We also A/B test, for example, in emails. So you can A/B test in MailChimp or whatever you're sending your firm newsletter in. A/B test and change one thing: change the subject line from a statement to ending in a question mark. Change on a landing page, like Bo's referring to, change the color of a call to action. So, yeah, maybe helping you realize, Jenny, bigger picture of not necessarily the tool, but each marketing channel. Email marketing is a channel, social media, paid ads, organic. You can A/B test within all of those different platforms. You can A/B test within video of changing the cover image or changing how you start the video. So it's a
Yeah.
great practice to do.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on this, but make sure that you're prioritizing your A/B testing efforts on pages that are getting most of your traffic. There's no value in you doing an A/B test on a page that might get 2 clicks a month, right? You want to focus on the pages, like we said, homepage is probably going to be the highest traffic page on your website. So if you're going to do some A/B testing, start there. Start on homepage, start on your attorney page, start on your practice area page, right? The ones that are getting the lion's share of the traffic, because that's how you get, immediate impact is you make your homepage, 10% more efficient from a conversion rate perspective. That could yield significant number of leads and cases every single month for you. If anyone has any questions following the webinar, you can feel free to email Ashley and I. Will include our contact info at the end. So I guess we can wrap up now. Again, thank you everyone for joining today. We really appreciated your time, and this was a fun discussion. Quick info on my agency real quick. So we are offering a complimentary digital advertising assessment for anyone that joined the webinar today. The caveat is your firm needs to be investing at least $20K a month in digital ads for you to qualify. But if this is of interest, if you do qualify, visit us at legal.paretoppc.com. You can book time with me, and we can, give you that assessment for absolutely free. And then, Ashley, I know that you have an offer as well.
Yeah, so we're going to do a free website audit to folks who attended today's webinar. This is normally a $500 offer for us. So I would just say, if you reach out to us, please let us know that you were on today's call. If you do want the free resource of the download, and you're going to get it from here, I would say when you complete that test, if you score 22 or lower, you need an audit on your website. If you're in that well-optimized category, shout out, congratulations. You probably invest in marketing, and kudos to you. So 22 or lower on that website score, reach out. Let us do a website audit and tell you opportunities for growth and improvement on the site.
This is a great time of year to be doing those types of assessments to make sure that you're in a good position for 2025. So don't hesitate to reach out if you are interested in either the ad assessment or the website assessment. Again, thank you everyone so much for joining. We know that you are all very busy people, and we will see you next time on the next webinar. Ashley, thank you very much for doing this too.
Yeah, thanks, Bo. Thank you, Alexa.